Hi guys, it's Miss Carrico here, and we are going to do a re-recording of the drawing that we did yesterday. For some reason, the recording cut itself off and then decided to not record the meeting yesterday. So to make up for that, I'm just going to go ahead and redraw that, and then you can watch that if you need it to reference how to draw some of these views for your lead screw drawing. Now for the rest of the class, for the rest of the course, I know we're getting near the end of the term for this, but I want to make sure that you at least get some form of creativity where you can use the Vex parts to build. And so for our meeting today on Wednesday, we are going to be talking about windmills and how they're constructed and what they look like, as well as give you some ideas for what you and your new partner are going to be working on. Then on Thursday, Friday, you'll begin the design process, drawing blueprints and planning and getting those approved and done. And then on Monday, beginning of next week, you'll then begin construction with the goal of having everything built by the end of the week so that we can then share those builds with the class and get some constructive criticism. And I know we got cut short because of the virtual learning and things and having a split schedule, but I do want to let you know that during engineering breaks for the class, for our science class, I will try to integrate some of this robotic stuff into the science class as well so that you can get some more stuff from the course, because it's not fair that you were cut short because of time constraints and the fact that we're split in half and have virtual learning because of the situation right now with the virus. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You will need your graph paper, a ruler, a pencil, and a good eraser. And this is one of our more advanced blueprint drawings, and I know you guys can do it. Just take your time and always make sure that you try your best. All right, so let's get started. Get my camera set up here. Go. Good to go. Okay, so what we're building, what we built in class and we observed was what was known as a lead screw. It has the screw system here, and it goes back and forth based on the movement with turning the axle, and it'll go back and forth. If we saw that from the side like you would in class, whenever we spin it, the piece will glide across the track back and forth. Now for this one, I'm not sure whose this one was, but really you should have this centered between these two pieces, and this should be brought in a little closer so that otherwise, if you look, if this goes all the way to the end, it will come off the track and it will become loose. When you build that in your actual build, you do not want to have that happen, because then your robot will stop moving and you'll have to make fixes on it, and that's not ideal. But this is a trial and error, and as you learn throughout the course, you'll learn how to better navigate the materials. So I'm going to set mine to the side so that I can see what I'm drawing. And then we will get started. I will tell you that typically a good pencil to use, I mean, wooden pencils are good, but I like to use lead pencils whenever I do my blueprint drawings. You don't have to get a lead pencil for this, but what I'm saying is your point will always be sharp. You don't have to worry about a dull pencil creating some thicker lines. You'll also need, when we're in class, you'll also need a pen. So when we do our windmill blueprints, you will need to ink your drawings. Okay? That being said, we'll go ahead and get our blueprint set up. We're going to go around and put our square in for our drawing area. Make sure to have a good handle on your ruler so it doesn't go everywhere. 3 fingers. And we want to maximize our drawing area, but we don't want to go off the page. Okay. There you go. Okay, so for this is our drawing area. We do want to divide this into 4 quadrants or 4 sections. What that does is it gives us a separate drawing space that's specifically for each view. There we go. So now we have the 4, and now we got to put in our headings. So that whichever the top of my paper is, I know typically what I do is I write up here wherever the holes are. But for this blueprint, my holes were a little further down on my graph paper than what usually is. So we are instead going to flip it around, which is another reason why it's important for you to write certain things on this blueprint. So we're going to write up here on the top, we're going to write lead screw assembly. In all capital letters. And remember, at any point in this video, if you need to catch up, you can just pause it, and then you can start it again once you catch up. At the top, we're going to write the word top in all capital letters. That tells us that's where the top of the paper should be when you hold the paper. Because in this case, for this one, it would be theoretically upside down, but because I have the top of my paper, I know that it's supposed to be held like that instead of like this. Then at the bottom, you're going to write the words not drawn to scale. That tells us that we don't have to worry about measuring anything and being super picky about how big or how wide something is. And this gives us the freedom for these reference type drawings to be able to draw it in different sizes. Now, when we get into design and modeling for your 7th grade course, you will have to make sure that you follow scale. But I just want you to get in the habit of first setting up your blueprint, using the lines, using your ruler, and developing these different viewpoints. I don't want you to concentrate too much on scale. I'm going to write in our labels. We have the top view, front view, (3D) view, and then we have right view. Okay. So these are our different viewpoints from looking at our build. Like we look at it from the top, we look at it from just the front, and then we look at it from a right side view or left, depends on which side you need to see. Sometimes for a blueprint, you may have to have an additional sheet of paper if, for example, your right view and your left view are completely different. For our build blueprint today, it's not entirely different. It's the same concept, but there's a handle on the right side view instead of the left. So to get started, I always like to start the front view because to me, not only is that one of the easiest viewpoints to draw, but we're able to start to really get introduced into the build itself. All right, so we're going to draw our build plate down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and zoom in so you can watch what I'm doing. We're going to draw our build plate. I like to leave, because it's not drawn to scale, but I like to leave a block space between the actual building area border and the drawing. Then going to go in by 2. We're going to put in our gray pieces. When I do this bottom piece, just so I know that it is going to be a little bit 3D, I like to make a bolder line. That way you can tell that there's something else sitting on top of it. There we go. It doesn't translate well on the camera, but there is a slight difference with it. Let's bring it up by 2. And then 2. Remember to always use your ruler. You may think that you are a pro at straight lines, but we can tell when you don't use a ruler. Make it a little bolder. Now, lead pencil is harder to get those bolder lines. There we go. Then we are going to put in our axle that goes through towards the top. I'm going in because it goes up here, the top of the gray. I'm going into the middle part. If you're not sure if you can eyeball a middle on the other side, just line your ruler up on the side of the paper. Oops, you could see it before. On the side of the paper to where it is completely even, and your line will be straight every time because we use what's known as the factory edge. So we're going to draw it out. Boom. Yeah, that's the axle. And remember, when you're doing yours, I have to draw a little darker so that it can be seen on the camera. You need to make sure that you draw lightly so that when you erase, it's cleaner. Okay. So then down here, we have our little glider piece. We're going to put that on down here. I'm going to make it 2 blocks tall. It's going to cut through the piece there. I'm going to make it 3 long. So it's 2 by 3. And then connect your lines. Now, because this is cutting through, it's going to be underneath. You want to turn this into a dotted line. Get your ruler back out and dot away. Oops, I misspoke. I was thinking of the wrong viewpoint. We need to actually make this slightly smaller because we have that eyepiece to put on. So I'm going to actually do it in half. Half and half. There we go. In the same place, but then when you do your dotted line, we now have room to put that eyepiece on here. There we go. Now when we do the other view, the 3D view, it will be bigger. That eyepiece goes from, it's just lined up in the center. So I will put it in the center here. Make sure it is lined up on the bottom with your factory edge. Draw up. Go. Just like this. And draw your eye lines over. Going from the center to center. So altogether it's 2. Make that line bold. And then follow up to here. Center to center. There we go. That's the eyepiece that glides across. And then we need to make the corkscrew in here. We're almost done, guys, with this view. We have the corkscrew. Goes from here to here. And then we want to connect those lines. Okay, so we're connecting the lines. So as you can see here, I didn't line up the factory edge with this piece. So you can barely see it is slightly to wide. Do not be ashamed to erase. That's why we do this lightly. And we'll redo it. That's a good example of not using that edge of the paper, because sometimes it is hard to eyeball, even with graph paper. There we go. And I'd say an issue right here, it's actually the axle that looked straight until we drew this box on. There we go. There we go. So this is our lead screw. We'll put the little dashes in, but we do need to make this dashed so that we know it's running through this. When you ink it, it'll be more noticeable. There we go. Put in our locking nuts. They are here and here. So there's our first viewpoint. We have our handle here on this side. There we go. So here's our front view, and we can move on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and ink this. If you have an ink pen at home, I suggest that you also do this. So what you're going to do is just go over and really finalize those lines that you drew in with the pencil. Here's where you can fix possible mistakes, because then you can erase all of your pencil off of the blueprint. So here's where you're going to definitely be able to see the dotted line that you maybe couldn't see before. Right. Oops. There we go. So here's your front view. Now you can definitely see it. And you just take your pencil eraser and just go back over top of it after the ink dries, and it'll be nice and clean. There you go. Okay, moving on, we're going to go ahead and do the right side view. So for this one, because we have more of an area to really view it, we will keep the base plate, the track, at the same level, but we're going to move up from there. Here's the base plate. All right. Now you can see that a little better. And then we are going to draw the track in. Now the track has a slight angle, so I'm going up by that much. There, now we want to have it the same on both sides. I prefer that angle a little bit better. There we go. All right, and then it goes across, so just connect your lines. Here and here. All right. Then we're going to go out by 2. Here, and 2 here. and connect those lines. We're going to go up by 2, 3, up by 3. Up by 3, connect our lines. Now, the one we did in class together, it may have looked a little different, but the concepts are still going to be there. Like I made it a little chubbier last time. Okay. Then we do have holes that are here and here. We're going to those ends. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Which we need to bring in a little bit closer. We want it to be centered. And I'm just going to make this look a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So when we're not drawing to scale, it's just really about what looks best for it. There we go. So there we go. We have our holes, and that's the holes that are on the L plates themselves. We do have an axle that comes through. We have a locking nut here. Now this is going to be dashed, so I like to put in my things and then go in it over it darker, the dashed line, because it's going to be behind it, right? And then we have our actual handle. Okay, and then this is the end of the handle. Oh, oops, it's off the camera. Now when we go in with this with pen, it'll be a lot easier. Right, so we're going to go in and ink it. Don't forget to dash your lines of the lines that are behind. So now, because we're using pen, we'll go boop, 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 and draw it. So when we erase our pencil, you won't even be able to tell that that was a solid line in pencil. And this piece here. Circle, circle. There we go. We go in with our eraser, erase all that pencil away. Oh, you can see where I missed the spot, which is also a good reason why we erase all of our pencil away, so that we can go in and fix anything that we may have missed. There we go. So here is your right side view. We know that there's an attachment here. So each view is going to tell you a different information about each thing. So the front view, we can see just how it was put together, while the right side view, you can see exactly how we're constructing that. So let's go ahead and go to the top view. The top view is going to be a little bit complicated, but we'll get it. Remember, take your time. We're going to go ahead and we're going to draw in our track. Make it 1 square high. Go. We're going to put in our, go in by 2. We're going to put in our L pieces. I'm going to go up by 1 and 1. So it's going to be 3 high, 2 wide. All right, and then connect our lines. Sorry guys, I had a visitor. We had to go say hi. Let's go ahead and get back with this. That gave you some time to catch up, right? So we're gonna go in. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. Guys, like how you guys know how I like to have things exactly the same, if we can, on both sides. Now, when you do your builds, it might not be like this, but for right now, for all of our builds, it's been exactly the same on both sides. Oops. Ruler wasn't up far enough. Go. Go. Then we're going to put in our build, our little glider. I'm going to go in by 3. And we're going to make it 1.5 tall on both sides. Oops. 1.5. Make it by 3, go 1.5. And then we'll connect our lines. Make sure to do that factory edge thing. Good to go. Good to go. I'll worry about my dotted dash lines once I get done drawing everything in. We can just use those dash lines with the pen. It won't be a big deal. Because there's going to be a have to turn dashed here. We do have to give some 3D effect to the L so that we know that there's like a lip there. So I'm just going in and just doing about 1/4 of the square. There we go. So now we know that there's a lip there. We do need to put in the little square for the little spirals. So I just barely touched there. There's a little space, there's a little gap there and there. And then we're going to want to connect the dots. Connect the lines, rather. There we go. And now we need to put our axle in. So I'm going to line it up with the center on the other side. Just draw our line straight through. There you go. Like I said, this one's a little bit more advanced than the ones we've done before, but I'm sure yours looks amazing. We're going to go ahead and ink this in. You're going to see where the dashed lines are. Okay, I made a little bit of an error, I believe. Right here, it's supposed to be dashed. I missed it. So right here, make sure this line is dashed. I missed that on the dash itself. Whenever I make that mistake, I'll put a little slash marks right along through here and go from there. And so we're putting in our dashes and drawing our straight lines. So anytime I make that mistake here, especially with a thin pen, just do the little slash. And at least for my class, I know that means it's supposed to be a dotted line. So solid, dot, dot, solid, solid, dot, dot, solid. Actually, that doesn't need to be dotted line. That sits right on top. We're good. Solid, solid. Through here, draw our here. Just like this. And then we do have our spiral. Goes here and here. It will be dashed through this square. Everything that's passing through this square basically is a dashed line. Okay. Then we draw our axle in. There we go. And that is our top view. There's a lot of dashes, a lot of different things that we have for this top view. Again, this is a pretty complicated one. Just try your best with it. We just want to make sure that we get all of our pieces. Going through, once your ink dries, depending on what type of pen you're using, spot test it on a separate sheet of paper and see how long it takes to dry, because otherwise you'll smear it across your blueprint and it'll be messy. There you go. So we erase it, and now you can see that you can see all the lines more clearly. So we're almost done. We are going to go over to the 3D view. Remember, if you ever need to pause it, you can just pause the recording when we get to it. For the 3D view, we have to work from the bottom up, and we just have to piece the things together. I believe that's the one we had the most problems with yesterday. So I'm going to go in one. Oops, go in by one. There's a rough spot on my desk right there. And then stop where there's two spaces there. When we do our 3D, I always just, because it's easier for you guys, I like to just, I need to go in by one. So you need three. I like to just divide the squares into half. Okay, same thing for over here. Divide it in half, go up by two. Connect your lines. Don't worry about the dashed lines, just worry about that whenever you do the ink. Carry it down by one. Carry it down by one. One. You're going to want to connect all of your lines. This. If you can see this one, I went down a little too far, which is why it's important for you to do this in pencil and not pen. So otherwise, you would have had to start back over. Either that or Miss Carico's eyeballs are not working well today together. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now we're good. All right, so now we're working from the top up. That's what's happening. I'm going to start from here, work my way up. We're going to draw in the gray pieces. We're going to go up by 3. 1, 2, 3. Same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3. Connect your lines. We go out by 2 here and 2 here. Something's off on this one. There we go. It's off by a hair. What was wrong with it? Okay. Now when I look at these gray pieces, they have angles to them. So we actually come out by here and we go up by here and we draw that in. Same thing, go up by 1. Connect. Come out by hair. Connect. And then draw down. Like I said, don't worry about these lines right now. We can just dash them with the ink pen. It'll be perfectly fine. So when we erase it, you won't be able to see all those different things. Do the same thing on this side, but this side it's not going to be as difficult. We go up by 3. 1, 2, 3. Same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3. Connect your lines. By 2, 2. Just do that. Okay. Oops. So just like that. Everything should be meshed together. Now we do have to put in our 3D piece here. There's that. Come out by a hair. Like this. And there we go. So this side of the view is a lot easier than this side, definitely. Okay. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And now we're going to get to another difficult piece, but I am confident that you're going to be able to do this. It will be fine. You've got this. We need to put in the slider bar, as this right here is the actual track. And there you go. For this track, remember we're going 2 by 2. It's going to start in the middle, right, and work itself up. Using your factory edge, you're going to draw up 1 like this. It's going to be for 3 long. I'm going to line it up with my factory edge on the other side of the paper and draw 4 over. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, same thing for up here, lining up on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drawing our line straight up. And then going with our same angles. If you're not sure your angles, I like to just eyeball. I'll take my ruler and I'll line it up with an angle that I know is correct. Like this one I know is correct. And without moving my ruler, I go along and I use that same angle when I go across. Going to line up the factory edge. Let me raise this up so you can see me doing that. You can see the paper, lining it up. Draw your straight line across. And see, that is where it should stop. Okay? And straight line down. So this is your track piece that would glide back and forth. Again, this would be dashed, this will be dashed, but we'll do all the dashed lines when we ink it. We're not going to really worry about any of that right now. We're going to do your eyepiece. That's 4 on this. I'm going to go by 1. There we go, 1. Up to the next little line. And 1. Okay. Make sure it's level. We're going to go by 1. We're just going to go ahead and just draw that line across. It'll help me eyeball it later. For this, it actually goes up at an angle. Okay, and up. 1. Okay, and so we want everything to meet. I'm going to lightly put up a line, a guideline here for me, just so I know where I need to put out my piece. There we go. Also like to, let's life hack this a little bit. I'm starting from here and it goes to here. Here's where it goes. There we go. And then we draw up by half, connector lines. This line we can erase now. This line we can erase. It's our little guideline. All right. And now we go through. We do our half thing. Moving by half a square all the way around. Everywhere where there is an angle. And then using our straight line down. There we go. We get that angle. All right. Remember, this is our first difficult blueprint. Take your time. No shame in erasing. Draw lightly. If we don't draw lightly, you're going to struggle. Okay. And visually looking at this, it needs to go up a little bit more. So we'll use our same baseline, but my 3D angles need to go out more. So I need to actually carry it up to there. All right. There we go. Here we go. and carry it across. And there is your piece. Now I am going to put in my little circles. Remember, there is 3 across. So we have a circle here, and a circle here. Way down, I'm using the same angles. Circle, circle, circle. Your circles actually will go through. So our axle goes through here. We may have to fix our little axles for that. It'll be fine. Yeah. Through is our axle. Okay, then we have our little spirals. Ooh, that was crooked. Go. And go. The spirals, and they actually cut through, right through there. All right, so now all we have to do is just ink this, and then we are done. And you'll be able to see the 3D nature of it. Okay. Right, so we're not going to draw a line here, simply because this is the track, and this is that space underneath that's also shown down here as well. Okay. Okay. Solid line, dashed, solid line, solid line. Here we have a dashed line, solid, dash, solid, solid, dash, solid, dashed. That's your axle, remember? Okay, so we'll clean this up once we erase it. All these crazy lines will go away. All right. Here we go. Now I did have a little bit of a mess up right here. And you can see this is a good example of why we use a ruler. Here I didn't use a ruler, like at all. And because of that, we can tell that it's off. So it actually would go from here down and over. All right. So just try your best with this. You can pause this at any time for it. This is what it should look like all together. Don't forget to sign it at the bottom so no one can steal your work. And keep this in your Project Lead the Way notebook. You need to make sure you take a picture of your drawing and upload it to the classroom assignment that I'm going to be posting here after this video uploads. And if you have any questions, you can ask me anything for that, and also especially too in our class meeting as well. But thank you so much for tuning in. I know this was a difficult drawing to do, but I believe in you. You can do it, and we'll be able to get through with this. All right, so this was the drawing that we did for in this video. This was the one we did in the classroom. So as long as it looks similar to these, you can pause this. I'll take pictures of these and upload them as reference as well. But just make sure you reach out to me.